Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Oneness Junkie podcast, hosted by me, Lydia Smith, a self-proclaimed Oneness Junkie. Oneness Junkie is a place to be inspired, encouraged, and supported. Learn from the individuals who are working to make the world a better place. Let's meet today's guest. Hi, everybody. This is Lydia. I've got here with me Bryson Gardner. He's 11 years old, and he's living his life as I would consider like a oneness junkie. Hi, Bryson.
Hi, Lydia. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you today. So I asked Bryson if he would be a guest on my podcast because I had heard a few stories about the way that he was living his life. And it just rang true for me that this is what I'm hoping the more of the world is behaving like. He lives with kindness, thoughtfulness, and compassion in his life with his friends and those who meet him, even actually strangers. So let me just introduce how I met Bryson. I am colleagues with his father, and I know his mother. And I came out to a surprise birthday party about 6 years ago for his dad. And we flew in, and I got a chance to meet Bryson for the first time. He was only 6 years old at the time, and now he's grown up a lot since then. And I actually haven't really seen Bryson in person, at least, for the 6 years. So it's really fun to see how much he's grown up and to learn about him. So I'm going to allow Bryson to tell you a little bit about himself. Like we already said, you were 11 years old, but if you want to introduce yourself or anything about like things that you like or your hobbies, let's just get the audience familiar with who they're talking with.
So as Leah said, my name is Bryson. I am 11 years old. I have many favorite subjects in like school, like math and science. When I'm not at school, I have some hobbies, hunting, and as the usual kid, like video games.
What kind of hunting do you like to do?
Just like deer hunting.
Are they in your neighborhood? Like do you have to go somewhere? Or are they in your
We go right
area?
into our backyard because that's where they go.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. So you're not in like the city where you can't shoot a gun.
No.
You're in an area where guns are allowed for hunting.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So would you ever see rabbits or any kind of possums or anything else to shoot? Squirrels?
We see a lot of squirrels, and we are actually going to do squirrel hunting in the summer and spring. So I'm excited about that.
What kind of gun do you work with?
Just like a rifle.
You said you like video games. What kind of video games do you play?
Everything, really. Rocket League.
Oh, okay.
It's like a car soccer.
Oh, that's right. You told me about that one. I used a photo of you with your lacrosse. Are you still playing lacrosse?
No, not right now.
Okay. Oh, because it's not season, right?
Yeah.
It's not the lacrosse season. Okay. But you enjoyed that?
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'm so glad that I have you on here today. I wanted to talk to you about what it means to be kind and compassionate from an 11-year-old's perspective. You're in 6th grade right now, correct?
Yes.
And that's middle school where you're at, right? Where you have like 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Well, what kind of things are you seeing in the school that you're in or just in the world? Like, I know that when we were talking before, just kind of preparing for this conversation, we were talking about what compassion and kindness. What does that mean for you?
I just think kindness is just a personality, and also what you can do to like help a person or give to a person to make them feel good.
Yeah. And actually, I got to experience that about 5 minutes ago before we hit record. I said, just relax and enjoy this free flowing conversation. And Bryson said to me, well, I want to do a good podcast episode for you. And I thought, oh my goodness, there he is, being thoughtful and considerate of the other person. So that's kind of what you're talking about, right? When you're just thinking ahead of how you can be thoughtful and helpful and, just offer generosity to people, right? Not so it's almost a little bit like selflessness because you're not putting yourself first in this, conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was asking you before, do you see any bullying or, like ugliness out in the world that makes you, and how does it make you feel when you see it?
When I do see it, it just makes me annoyed, like what the world has come to, and just it hurts me.
Yeah, it feels bad. Tell me what have you noticed as an 11-year-old that the world has come to? Like, what is your perspective? What have you noticed?
That's like, there's not a lot of kindness. And
are you seeing that in your like community or on
just
TV?
At school?
Oh, you're seeing it at school too. Okay. Not just like on TV, but you're seeing it at school too.
Yes.
Can you give any, like, you don't have to, don't give any names or anything, but do you have any examples of what you're referring to when you talk about, things that probably don't sit that well with you when you see it?
I actually don't have anything, like, I don't have any examples because, like, there's
in your thoughts,
kindness in my school. There's no bullying in my school that I see.
Okay. So when we were just talking about you didn't like what the world is coming to, what have you noticed that is not kindness? That things are where things are going or heading, or you just said it, you don't like the way it makes you feel when you see it. Where are you seeing it?
It's just annoying not seeing people be like kind.
Yeah. Let's go back to, so one of the things I thought was fascinating about our conversation, and I just thought it was a really powerful message from you. When we were talking before, we were talking about a particular community of people that typically aren't getting a lot of acceptance. And we were talking about the LGBTQ community. And, I have friends and you have friends at your age that identify with that community. So I just feel like your message of compassion is important for everyone, whether they're young or old. It's a message that everyone needs to hear. So let's just talk openly about that. Like, what do you want to say about people who identify with that particular community? I know we talked about that before. Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
I just think it's great that people are like opening up at like a really young age and like them showing their freedom.
Yes. So tell us a little bit more about that. So it takes a lot of courage, right? If you feel a certain way inside of you, but your community, possibly like your family or people that you know and love, if you think they might not accept it, it's a lot of courage to step out and tell people what you're really feeling. So let's talk about, you obviously have some friends. You don't, of course, again, you don't mention any names because we don't want anybody to be exposed that maybe doesn't want to be talked about. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is just talk in general about the conversation so that more people have an understanding about how you and I were talking before. Everyone has the right to be who they want to be, right? Or to live their life in freedom. A lot of times people don't understand, like, it's not a choice. People are born with the desires of their heart. And if it doesn't fit into a particular frame or a model or a context, it's somehow not accepted. It gets rejected. Let's talk about that. What do you want to say about that?
I just think it's just wrong because it's going against some of our rights and just how they should be treated well.
Yes, everybody should be treated well, right? Everybody gets to be who they want to be. It's our freedom. It's our right, our birthright, right? I mean, these are some things we were talking about before. What else can you think of about that? Do you want to talk about?
I have nothing else to say about that LGBTQ, I don't think.
Okay.
Or about that question.
Oh, okay. You've seen some people in your community who've either transitioned or who identify maybe with the L or the G part of the community. Your school is open and, nobody's having issues with it at that, to your understanding, right?
Yeah.
But the point that I was going to make is that, you're in sixth grade in 2021, and I was in sixth grade in 1979. And so I was trying to think back on what life was like in 1979 in a conservative community. And we didn't have anybody, identifying outwardly LGBT in our 1979 sixth grade class. I will say that in some cases, I know people today who identify today, those same people who have been comfortable when they got older, expressing themselves to their full openness. And now they do identify with the LGBT community. But when they were in sixth grade, they weren't self-expressed. But what I think is beautiful about your school, your experience, your generation, the fact that you're 11 years old, and there are people at your school who are comfortable and their parents are comfortable allowing them to be who they are, exactly who they are, right?
It's really just about like content creators on like YouTube and social medias that are like influencing that. And
you mean influencing the comfort level
to
come out? Maybe if you're in your family and no one else in your family is identifying like that, when you're on social media and you can find other people like you, influencers that are like you, who are comfortable and they're out, then it gives you more courage, right? Or gives the individual
more confidence.
Yeah, more confidence that there's people like me who are out there, even though they're not in my, close-knit community or my close-knit family, for instance, right? So, well, this is very interesting. I was just really, interested in finding out, what the perspective was. So on a different topic, not necessarily just LGBT, but Q, but also just in general, when I think about compassion, I think about people who are considerate of others. But then there's the opposite side of that. So there's a lot of people, like maybe, Bryson, maybe you haven't been bullied, because I know we talked about that, but there are a lot of people who do get bullied in school. and at this age. And so let's talk about that in general terms, okay? Like just your opinion about bullying. So can you just talk about what you think about bullying? What kind of people bully people? Let's have an open discussion about bullying.
People just think it's cool to be a bully because I actually don't know why, but the popular kids, they become popular because of their like bullying, being mean.
People actually like them better because they're mean? Or
Yes.
they're, or wait, let me ask you, or do you think people are scared of them and they get their power because they're domineering? So people pretend to like them and they seem popular, but they're actually just a bunch of people afraid of being on the other side of the bully if they're not friends with the bully.
Oh no. It's how it's like been.
So being a bully makes you popular.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. An interesting perspective. So as you get older, and I've had many years, I'm 53, so I've had many years to experience life. And one thing I've learned is that bullying comes from deep insecurity. So what happens is these bullies have either been victims themselves of like somebody else, a brother or a sister or an older person, probably a family member, a father, a grandfather, an uncle, that's a bully towards them. And then they're extremely insecure. And then they turn around and try to use that same tactic on other people. And so whenever
like to relieve stress or like to get anger out.
Yeah. Well, or they just don't have anger management skills, right? Like not everybody who gets angry. What do you do when you get angry? You don't bully people.
And just let myself cool down.
Just blow some steam out somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what normal people do. Bullies are taking it out on other people, and that's not fair. And it's not nice. And it makes me frustrated to hear that y'all have a perspective that you can be popular by being a bully. I actually think it's closer to my thought process, which is whether you understand it or not. I feel like those kids who are friends with the bully are actually just afraid that if they go against the bully, they could become victim of the bully. So it's like one of those concepts, like keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's like a saying. So it's so sad. What are some of the ways that bullies bully that you've seen?
Just like verbal, really.
Yeah. What about like making fun of somebody?
Yeah.
Or like in the lunchroom, doing something like probably embarrassment. If they can create embarrassment for somebody,
yeah,
that's a way to bully people. What else do you think?
Just like in general, just make them feel bad.
Right. Just doing
about
anything,
themselves.
Grabbing their shirt and pulling on it. I mean, there's all kinds of little ways that bullies can be annoying, right? They're just do things that just get into your space, your physical space. They cross boundaries. And hopefully anybody that is listening that has somebody doing these things to them, recognizing if it doesn't feel good, it's probably not healthy. It's probably a representation of, bullying or, some negative attacking. Do you have any thoughts for people who might be experiencing bullying? Like, are there anything inspirational you can share for anyone who might be going through being bullied at school or in life?
Just like if you're in school, then just like tell someone about it. Tell someone about it.
You mean like a friend or like someone who could do something about it, like a teacher or a
like
principal?
a friend or like multiple friends to help.
How would
them,
they help? How could they help?
They could help stand up for you.
Yeah, like so there's power in numbers. Like if there's 3 people walking around and the bully's one, he's probably not going to mess with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So finding some tactics and strategies, dealing with the bullies, right?
Yeah.
What about standing up for yourself? Does that help? Like if you say, yeah, I see you thinking. So I'm
or like another tactic could be like just walk away from that area.
Yeah. Remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know, I have an idea, but I don't, every situation's different. But personally, this is how I handle someone who's bullying me. So if someone is bullying you, but you're just very logical and you don't look like you're afraid of them, you could just have a conversation just saying, I'm not really comfortable with you. This is like would throw him off or throw her off. I'm not really comfortable with you treating me this way. Can you just leave me alone? It's irritating. Like try to come from like a higher level perspective instead of showing fear. If you just kind of show logic and rationale and you think like, your bullying's not really working on me anymore. So, either stop it or go find someone else because it's not working, and like have some kind of a mental compass showdown with them, instead. Is that something that you could see as a realistic thing or that people just don't have the ability
they just
to do something
don't
like
have logic and
because they're in fear, right? They're in fear when they're being attacked. And that's the uncomfortable part. It's like there's a automatic system in our bodies. It's the fight or flight system. And it's, what we learned when a saber-toothed tiger was chasing us, we learned to run, or to, protect yourself or whatever, it's in our system on purpose. It tells us when something's not right. It's a internal guidance system. And unfortunately, the bullies are triggering that for people. And so they kind of freeze, they fight or flight. Sometimes people freeze, in fear, in the face of fear. So anyway, this is just something that, I'm thinking about. So what are you thinking about? I see you deep in thought while I'm talking.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like other ways you can handle it or stories that I could tell about.
Yeah. Do you have any? You have any stories to tell? My audience loves stories.
I actually don't have any stories. We just
that you can think of.
No, I don't. Actually.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience about? We were talking about bullying, but the other side of bullying is being nice and being compassionate and being kind and being a oneness junkie. And that's why you're on this podcast, because that's just who you are. That's how you live your life. That's how you perceive the world. And let's talk about anything that you might be able to. Did you write down anything around finding some words to share with the audience to inspire them? Is there anything that you can think of?
Just be kind. Never judge someone for how they look or act, or if they have disabilities or brain disorders, and just be kind.
Right, because you never know. you never know where that person's coming from, right? You never know what they've been through. You don't walk in their shoes. Is that kind of what you're thinking? You don't know
Yeah,
what their
never
life
judge a
is
book
like.
by its cover.
Exactly. When you said that, that's exactly the quote that popped into my mind. I also believe the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, if you want people to treat you nice, you need to be putting out a nice vibration too to others.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, Bryson, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we go?
No, not really. I think we covered it all.
Okay, good. So one of the things that I do for my guest is I created this idea called mirror reflections. And what it is, it's like pretend like I'm a mirror and you're projecting your goodness out into the world. And I'm going to tell you verbally and reflect back to you what I think you're giving out to the world based on what I perceive by just knowing you. So, Bryson, I think you're an extraordinary 11-year-old young man. And I'm so glad that I have the chance to talk with you today. I think that your heart is so big and it expands far beyond your body. Just people, when they see you, they see a big heart. They see loving kindness. They see generosity. They see thoughtfulness. You are always putting a lot of deep thought into even like gifts that you give for someone. And, I'm going to bring this up. You told me a story the other day about somebody had told you that they didn't get a gift and they were really upset about it. It was a friend of yours. And so you wanted to go and get that person a gift because you wanted them to experience the feeling of the
being
joy.
special.
Right. And you wanted them to feel like they mattered. And you want, like you just said, you wanted them to feel special. Also, you know that you get some benefit in your own heart as the giver. It's not just the receiver who gets all that benefit, but as a giver who's thoughtful, you have
it's like heartwarming.
Yes, it's heartwarming. There's also like science that talks about health benefits. You know, when you live with more joy and loving kindness in your heart, there's actually physical health benefits from being that kind of a person. So anyway, that's who I see you to be. I just hope that you continue to grow into this wonderful, kind person that you are already in becoming, and that you find as you get more and more able to do things and come up with ideas, I can just see you putting together, like a program of something where you're leading others to find, their own big heart within them and helping people find it in themselves to be more compassionate and be more kind, which is basically what the Oneness Junkie podcast is all about. It's all about creating more compassion in the world and highlighting those who are already doing it. So you fit the bill, young man. And I'm so glad that you were willing to come and talk to me about your experience in your 11 years so far. I appreciate you, and I'm going to say goodbye. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience before you leave?
I am very grateful to be on the show, and I will see you maybe another time.
Yes.
Bye, Lydia.
Bye. Take care. We've reached the end of this episode. If you'd like to continue with this inspirational journey, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. If you are a self-proclaimed oneness junkie, get yourself a t-shirt and spread the message of oneness in your community. And finally, if you have a story to share or know someone that should be a guest on this podcast, contact us at onenessjunkie.com. See you next time. And remember, when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. Compassion starts with you and me.